Same piece of that corn.
So, we're here with Scott and Cindy, and they've agreed to chat with us about whatever football career, their life here in Kansas, college football, living in different places.
We've done about
yeah, I was going to ask you what your
That's
favorite,
for sure.
what was your favorite place to live of all the.
I mean,
towns here?
Oh, that's
guys,
tough.
yeah, I mean, there was good things about we met so many different nice people everywhere we lived, so,
Cincinnati was pretty.
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
Nice
it's
town.
right on the river, the
Mhm.
football stadium was right on the river, and the hotel, or the apartment we lived in we had a great view of the city, and so that was really,
That
really
was our
nice.
first season, and the second season we actually Cincinnati is right on the border of Kentucky, so our
okay.
address was actually Fort Mitchell, Kentucky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
So,
we were on that
And-
side.
We've got Jonesy, our friend
Yeah.
from Tasmania. He's in here, so we're going all over the world now.
I guess.
Wow, I guess.
So Jonesy, we're here with Scott Fulhag and his wife Cindy, and you can ask him any questions you like about. He played, was it 5 seasons?
7 seasons.
7
2
seasons.
with Cincinnati and 5 with Atlanta.
5 with Atlanta. Okay, 7 seasons in the NFL. So anything you want to ask him, it doesn't have to be football related. Or if you want to ask Cindy a question, she's an expert on chickens.
I didn't get a chance to say that I was your snapper.
Yeah, Cindy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
When I practiced a lot, and I used to, when I would speak at different places, I would tell people that Cindy had a great arm. I mean, she could
Wow.
throw the ball, and
Awesome.
then I
Of
had to
course.
shag them all with you.
then she'd help me round them up. And my silly joke back then was that she did, kind of mess me up a little bit when she'd bend over and snap the football to me. But actually, she was throwing
I
it
was
to
throwing
me.
it. But he does say that joke quite often.
So, in honor of Jonesy from Tasmania, have you guys ever played rugby?
No, but in college, I wasn't allowed to play a sport like that
Yeah.
when I was in college because I was on a scholarship, and I couldn't risk getting hurt doing something else that they say I wasn't supposed to do. So I was pretty limited to any other sports at all, especially during the season. But my roommate played rugby. A couple of my roommates played rugby, and so I got to watch them do some of that. But yeah, it's a pretty tough sport.
Oh my goodness, and they hardly wear any protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to be suicidal to do that.
Is he a rugby player?
I don't think he's. I don't
Maybe
think he
back
did.
in the day.
Yeah.
I think he did. Back
He's a
in the
radio
day.
guy now. He does DJ stuff
He
on a
played,
radio station in Tasmania.
Other type of football.
Yeah. Well, Scott was the punter, so he didn't really get too many injuries until he hurt himself. But
Make sure it's.
so
I see yours is spinning, so I was just checking. This one's
Oh.
still live.
Yeah, I can see you.
He says in the 80s he played.
oh well, that's when. Well,
So I graduated from high school in
In 80.
1980
Okay.
and didn't even know what rugby was
Yeah. Who did back
Yeah.
then?
back in 1980. It didn't even really, or soccer. I never played that here growing up at all until, when my kids were young, which would have been 35 years ago. They finally started playing soccer in this area.
Right.
But
So
no, it's
kids.
football, basketball, and wrestling.
Yeah, it cracks me up to no end that
track. He
Kansans
did some football
Track. Yeah.
football team.
and Kansans still don't know they have a professional soccer team.
Yeah, I know.
At least out here. I guess in Kansas City, people say they do, but
Yeah.
out here, that I see.
They probably do now that Messi is on the scene.
Well, they'll,
Yeah.
they'll
People
start
probably know
figuring it
about
out.
soccer.
Yeah, more people are starting to get it because of that.
Well, I have an interest to go watch them play now too. I would
Oh,
like to do that, but
Yeah.
I have not ever been to even a college soccer game.
Oh wow. And they're going to bring the World Cup games here.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Is that 24? No, that's not next year. No, it'd be 26. 2026. And Kansas is
In
going to
Kansas
host some of
City,
them.
Yeah, Chiefs. I think at that stadium, isn't it?
Well, probably we're. I don't
It's
know.
out there at the
Probably
Legends out there. They've
Well,
got
they're
their-
getting ready for something because they don't know if they can, either fix the stadium
Oh,
or,
no, they're gonna move, yeah, they're gonna make a
Move
new,
it.
they're building a new stadium.
I don't think
Okay.
they've decided the last home preseason game I watched.
So.
And how much football do you watch? Pretty much, I'm the
That's the
football.
first wife shaving her husband for not watching
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
football.
she watches more than I do.
Yeah, that's the first, I know, everybody just can't believe that, but I mean, I've watched
You
them
know,
for
I
how
don't,
long?
you know, when you've been on, I don't know, part of it is just when you're not there participating on the field anymore, it's hard to watch. It's harder for me to watch it,
Yeah.
but I don't know why.
Does it make you a little jealous?
I don't
do
know
you
if
wanna
I'm
be out there?
jealous. I mean, yeah, you never don't want to be out there. I mean, it was, you know, it's a pretty neat experience when you're on the sidelines and there's 80,000 people, you know, going nuts, you know, or you know, one of the greatest times during the football game too, I always thought was the national anthem and stuff at the start when
Oh yeah.
you've got professional singers or you've got
Right.
singers from the military or brass groups that come and play their instruments and then the jets fly. I mean, it's a pretty emotional moment.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the military, they say that they come home and they're not being shot at, and they also have a lowering of the adrenaline, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really hard to get back into regular
is.
life. Did you find it the same way with?
Well, it wasn't hard for
NFL?
me to get back into regular life because you know, like I say, back then when the season was over with, we came home and I got back into regular life
Yeah.
every year.
But then in July, it wasn't time to go again, and we didn't have to go practice all the time. Oh, we still did a little bit, didn't we?
Oh yeah, and then I would actually get off of the combine and during wheat harvest, you know, before it got dark and sitting, I would go out into the pasture with the cows and I would practice
With the cow.
and kick the ball out in the pasture. So,
Yeah.
We got a question here. So Jonesy says, as a punter, did you have to keep away from the hard training drills, or did you only kick at training?
well, I mean, during camp, it kind of depends on. When I was in college, we had a little more freedom even at college at K-State. We would go out. We were on practice fields that were about a quarter, probably a little over a quarter of a mile away from the main football field that we played on. And we'd go out there with the team and we'd go through our punt drills and field goal drills and stuff. And then we were basically done for the day and we'd head back down to the turf. And there's nobody else around. So we were on our own.
Right.
And lots of times we didn't run. One time we got caught in the coach's locker room shaving with the coaches, shave
I
kits and
didn't
stuff.
know that.
And Coach Dickey, the head coach, caught us and
Oh, man.
he just said, "Make sure you get that stuff cleaned up when you're done." And he turned around and walked off.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that was he didn't really. But no, I didn't. No, we didn't have to do tackling drills or things like that where you might get injured or
Right.
like the other players. I mean, we were out there during practice the whole time in the NFL. I mean, we didn't get to go inside or anything. We had to be ready to do
Get back.
the punting drills and the kickoff drills and
Oops, sorry. Get your
the
deal.
dog got your
It's all good.
Come on, Roll.
speaker.
Let's go potty. Come on.
so no, never got hurt in practice. You know, during a ball game, now, you know, back when I played, teams would try to knock the punters and kickers out of the game because you only have one punter and one kicker on a team.
Oh yeah.
And if you can injure one of those guys, then that gives the other team an advantage.
Right.
So, you know, they had headhunters.
They were
back
out for
then
you,
that were
yeah.
out for you.
Did they ever get you?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I had some teeth
Yeah.
chipped and
Yeah.
knocked out.
Oh man.
Yeah, one
And,
time you didn't know what sideline to go to.
Yeah, I got knocked out bad one time on a punt where I can't remember who was returning the ball, but you know he was coming down the sideline, and I took the angle to try to make a tackle, and when he cut back inside, which is really what a punter's supposed to do.
Right.
You know, you're trying to get that guy to cut back into the other players if they're, and so when he cut back, I turned, and I got wiped out by.
Oh, no.
a linebacker that was going full speed. I mean, I just remember sitting there thinking, which way do I go?
So is that pros or college?
That was pros.
I didn't remember which one it
I
was.
saw the picture. She's like, "Where's Scott?" And you can see
Yeah,
him like just looking above some
That one
big
picture.
old linebackers.
Yeah.
Did you ever make any tackles?
Yeah, I mean, I was in on tackles. I can't say that I ever, because, not usually if it's one-on-one with the kick returner
You're
and the
not-
punter,
Yeah.
if you're in the open field and that guy's, you're not gonna,
Jukes.
you're just not gonna make
Right.
that tackle very often. That's why they teach us to take that angle and try to get that guy to cut back inside.
Oh,
So some fast guy will run him down from behind at that point or something, you
yeah.
know.
Just slow them up a
But,
bit.
yeah, but I did throw for a first down,
Oh yeah.
and I threw for a touchdown that got called
Called
back for holding.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I guess I threw for 2 first downs and 1 touchdown.
That's
on
neat.
fake punts and
Yeah.
stuff.
Something special.
So yeah, that was fun.
That was cool. I've never been so excited in all my life because
Were
we
you
didn't
there?
know. No, it was a home game, so I was there.
In Cincinnati,
But yeah, it was crazy.
72 yards. It was
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, and it was a bad call
Oh.
bringing it back.
Yeah, I was devastated.
And I had 3 of my classmates from high school that
There.
come up for that ball game too. So that was kind
That's
of nice.
neat.
So yeah,
Did your parents get to go to some games?
yeah. Mom
Few.
would come down a little more than
Well,
Dad because he was busy. But
Oh, okay.
Depends on what time of year. My parents would come too, but it was so cold. I mean, I got pictures that we're just bundled up like you wouldn't believe. Because that's when they can come, is when they're done with fall harvest, and that's usually pole games. December is when most of the
of course, Atlanta
family came.
wasn't near
No.
as cold as.
And then finally it was a dome, so it didn't matter.
So different teams around the states have a different type of energy. Where were the best fans?
Oh gosh,
Right.
I mean, it depends on what you want
Sorry.
to call
No
I'm
best.
gonna give this to
What do you want to call
That
best fans? The Jets fans were
Cleveland.
obnoxious. I mean,
Oh yeah,
man,
Me too.
they would holler at you and call you every name in the book, and
Well,
I think they want if you got hurt or knocked, you got hit hard. They were hoping you got hurt.
Right.
And then when you go to Cleveland, those fans, you'd be back there warming up. Oh, not this dog. You'd be back there warming up in the dog pound, and there's people sitting behind the goalpost, and you're trying to punt out of the end zone, and they're literally throwing real dog bones at you.
No,
you're
they
warming
bring
up.
them to the game
Yeah.
just for that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that was the dog pound. This is
Big
blue.
dog.
Hi, Blue.
He's a good old boy.
So, I mean, good fans. Well, the Chiefs fans have to be some of the best in the country.
Yeah.
Even back then, they were good fans. Atlanta fans I think they're a lot better now. Back then,
Fair weather fans.
they
It
were
wasn't-
fair weather
yeah,
fans.
it wasn't
but,
loud.
we didn't. The first couple of years I was there, we didn't win very many ball games. So, sometimes we didn't have a lot of fans at the games.
Oh.
I mean, there might be 15, 20,000, but that doesn't seem like very many in a big stadium.
Right. Yeah.
So
Jonesy says in rugby we train to tackle at the legs, less impact, and the coaches would say they can't run without legs.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
that's
that would
right.
be-
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
keep-
watch all of the. I mean, it's just getting stricter and stricter. And then when you were playing, there was only 26 teams, right? Because now there's how many?
Making me think.
So he
Well,
was,
there's 32 teams.
but there's a lot more now.
16. No.
No, I promise you, the new ones. There's
Well, I don't
there's
know,
at
you'd have
least
to add
4
them up.
new ones, new teams that join.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, they only have 1 punter per team.
Oh, really?
So he was
Yeah.
one of, and I know it was 26. One of 26 punters in the NFL, in the United States. Well, actually, of the world, because
Yeah.
NFL is worldwide now.
Yes, it is.
Hello, quit looking at me.
Yes, it is.
The other question I have is, have you seen the music video of The Lonesome Kicker from Adam Sandler?
Well, I probably have,
I'm
but
sure we
We
have.
should do a reaction video with him watching that.
Yeah.
Is he a kicker or punter?
I don't know. It's
I think
it's
he's
generic.
a kicker. I think.
Please
I don't
stop
know.
it. No.
It's just he's just made a funny song about. It's called The Lonesome Kicker, about how like the other players tease
But
him.
they were. I'm in a music video when we made the
Oh, yeah?
playoffs. What was the name of the video?
Oh yeah, the
Confederate Railroad.
Confederate Railroad.
And
Well,
it's
that
Queen
was
Memphis.
that was the Queen of Memphis, the
Yeah.
video that we were in. But then when we went to the playoffs that year too, we also did
Oh yeah.
a music video with different players on the team.
And
I
it
can't remember
was.
what the song was. What do we call it? It was-
well, didn't they make a video of the Icky Shuffle? Didn't they do?
well,
like
yeah,
that?
Icky
Icky
had
was-
all kinds of.
Yeah.
But I sort of remember there being one with the whole team like choreographed.
Well,
and
when we
everything.
got into the playoffs, there was more and more of that going on. Guys started
Oh, okay.
doing that when he would score or something like
Yeah.
that. Then they would go. There'd be several guys that would go down there and do the shuffle
Okay.
with them.
We're gonna have to look up that one though that you just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Find that.
It's called. The words are. I get a kick,
My words
Yeah.
were, I give the ball
Well,
a
the
boot,
boot,
I get a big
kick out of that.
Good
Good guys
guys
do
don't-
wear black.
Yeah.
That's the name of it.
Oh,
Yeah, good guys do wear black. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So let us know how both of you guys felt in his first NFL game.
Oh my gosh.
What did it feel like going there?
Luck, surprisingly for me anyway, his mom was with me, and he only had like 4 days or something, and they gave us nosebleeds tickets. We were
Oh.
clear in the upper deck. I'll never forget it, watching them, and we were both so excited, his mom and I. It was about more than we could do to contain ourselves. Of course, we had to tell everybody, yeah, that's Scott, my husband, that's my son, you know.
Yeah, I don't, it's kind of hard to describe. I mean, it took me 3 years to get there when I finally, they finally said that I was going to be the guy. I mean, it was just kind of like I don't know, big relief almost.
Yeah, I bet.
That I finally did it, And then I always used to tell myself, if I could just
1 year.
do one game, and then it was 1 year, and then I was like,
I want to be vested then after that.
and you just, I don't know, you can't get enough of it, I guess. But yeah, a lot of hard work. The third year that I hadn't made the team, I was one of my school teachers. I was running up at the high school track, and one of my high school teachers, who I loved to death, he was a good guy, and I'll never forget it. He goes, "Well, this is your third year." He said, "Why don't you just give up?" And I'm like, "Well, because I can't, because I've been to
Come
these
so
camps,
far, yeah.
and I know,
I'm better.
I'm being real with myself. I was doing better than the guys that were there, So
Yeah.
I just had to get on the field and show people,
Right.
And finally, I hung in there long enough
That's
that I
your
finally
chance.
got some shots at it. So, and you don't get very many, so you got to make it count.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome that
There was
you
1 year, I
stuck it out
think,
so long and didn't quit.
was only 1 or 2 years that you didn't have any opposition at camp. They didn't bring any punters
No, I
in.
mean in Atlanta it was at
91.
least 3 years in Atlanta
But he
where they didn't bring anybody in for.
But every time there was a
compete.
shank or something, sometimes you'd be worried, especially if it went back for a touchdown. Oh dear, are we gonna get cut? Are they gonna be working on a new punter at the stadium? Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
it was.
So
It was
our
very nerve wracking.
friend Jonesy said the only ground I have been to was in Nebraska. It was huge. I think he's talking about a stadium.
Yeah,
Mm.
And then he says NFL scouts come to Australia scouting for punters.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah, they do.
And there's-
Actually,
there's one coming from Perth, Australia, that's going to be at KU.
Oh.
I think it's KU this
Really?
year. Yeah. So yeah, they get some kickers over there from the Australian football leagues and
Yeah.
stuff, I guess. So.
That's so cute.
And
This is awesome.
another thing that's really different now on the punters, back then I was a pretty normal size guy, you know, at 5'11". There were some punters that were 6', 6'1". But there's a lot of punters now that are 6'4", 6'5".
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
What would be the advantage to being so
Just
tall?
bigger and stronger, more leverage.
Huh.
But they wouldn't be faster.
Oh, and the other thing.
No, but they don't have to run very much,
Yeah.
Now-
usually.
The footballs are different now. I
Oh,
don't
really?
know why it's not talked about. Tell them about that.
Well, I mean,
More
they're
aerodynamic,
just, yeah.
lighter.
Yeah, they just feel
They
better.
just
They're not
sell.
so the old footballs that we used to have were so hard and
Well, you,
and it got to where the kickers on each team would work them over. I mean, we would break the seams in because we would provide the game balls.
so they
The
worked
home
them.
team would provide all the game balls
They
for
would
the game.
scuff them up.
There'd be
you know.
12 for
Oh.
each team. You'd each have
Okay.
your own bag of balls. Well, so you know, we would break them in on the turf and scuff them up. The quarterbacks liked them better too because it was
Wasn't slick.
easier to
Yeah.
grip. Because when they
Makes
come
sense.
right out of the box, they're just awful. And that's how we used to have to.
But they're
Kick
different
those
now
balls.
because you went to one of the reunions and somebody brought a football up. And
Yeah,
you're
well,
like,
they're more. They're made now more. I don't know if it's a little softer leather or what, but they're just a nicer ball.
and lighter. That's
Yeah.
why their punters are doing so much better.
Oh, kicking longer.
Well,
Yes.
they're bigger and stronger too.
But I think it has to do with that ball.
Yeah. Well, it does. Like I know in soccer, they keep coming out with different balls,
Mhm.
and every time all the goalies hate it
Oh yeah,
because they're coming at them faster.
Mhm.
They're able to get different spin
That's
on
right.
them, and
that's right.
every time you hear all the goalies saying this isn't fair for us, and
Mhm.
you know all this stuff.
Yeah, it's right. And then
Just-
it's
Seriously.
And the littlest things can make the biggest
Mhm.
difference. I
Yeah.
mean, just like shoes and punters and kickers or
And those
gotta
magnetic
think.
gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magnetic
What's
gloves.
your thought on
Well, they used
the
to have-
conspiracy theory?
Well, back when I played, it was just
Stick 'em.
a leather glove and the stick 'em. The guys would put so much sticky stuff
Oh,
on their
yeah.
hands. Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Like, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the Super Bowls being rigged. What do you guys think about that? Could that be true, or do you not really see
No, I
it?
don't. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that. It's just too hard to do that type of thing for that big of an event, I think.
Yeah.
But with so many people watching and so many eyes on the ball and everything like that, but guys are just great athletes and they make great plays and they make
Right.
great things happen. I mean, that's from when I played. You go to these reunions and you go down on the sideline.
So
And
cute.
these guys are
somebody's hungry.
they look so much more athletic now than they did back even when I played. I mean,
Yeah.
guys were big, guys
Right.
could run and that type. But now, I mean, they just
I think it's-
look
yeah.
more athletic.
I think they start younger, right? And
Yeah, they do.
They
Lifting
specialize
and-
more now, where it's
Yeah.
like that's their one sport
Yeah.
from when they're like 5 years old. Sometimes I hear,
Yeah.
they pick a sport and that's it. Their whole life they just
He's getting
train,
ready to bark.
which sounds terrible to me, but I guess if you want to be the best,
Do you think you'll feed him?
I just don't know for sure how they
I'll
know
go
they're going
feed
to
'em.
pick the right
Come on,
sport
Blue.
at
Right.
that age.
Pardon me. Come on, Blue.
yeah, I'm
You
sure
know.
a lot of them burn
Come on, let's
out.
go eat.
And they start playing that
Let's go eat.
tackle football for little kids.
Come on, let's
What?
go eat. Come on, come on, let's
Do
go
we
eat.
get her?
Come on,
Go eat.
get
He's
treats.
not sure.
He goes, you don't feed me that
I know.
often. He doesn't believe you.
Oh,
He thinks
Come
he's
on.
tricking you.
Come on, Blue. Are you hungry?
Come on,
Let's go, eat.
let's go.
Go eat.
Come on, come on. Good boy.
you got him. You got him all
It
fired up.
wouldn't take our dog that much effort to feed our dog. Our dog would be right.
I'm usually the one that feeds him. I'm sure he just thought sitting trying to get him to go outside.
Oh. He likes it inside where it's comfy.
No. Well, it is time. It's past time to eat, so I'm sure that's what he was
Oh, okay.
waiting for me to go feed him.
Oh, I get you.
So I get the impression that you had a lot of support, like your family believed in you, and they
Yeah,
didn't tell you to quit.
When I was I went to a camp, a kicking tryout, I guess it was, with the Washington Redskins, and my dad loaned me the $500 to buy an airline ticket, to fly up there at the time, and and it paid off. I mean, I had a good tryout and ended up back in camp with them then the following year, and that kind of was a start. I mean, I really thought I was going to make the team with the Redskins that year, and I got right down to the end, and one of the last ones to get released, and that was the team I was with when I got my first opportunity to play in the preseason, and step on the field finally, and get a game in, and so it was a lot of support. And nobody ever told me I shouldn't be doing it anymore, really, except for my teacher, and that just made me
Want to do it all the
even
more?
more.
Oh, so maybe that was a blessing.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah.
You ever hear the story of Fred Astaire, how he has on his mantle, he had a review by a critic, like, can't dance, can't act, will never be anything, and he put it up there on his mantle.
Right up there to see all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anybody that's made anything of themselves have always had their doubters,
Yeah.
And some people
That's
it
right.
fuels them, and then you wonder how many others quit, and we'll never know their names because they didn't.
That's true.
They heard some, sad. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people hear that, and then they're, oh, well, this coach says I'm no good or whatever.
Yep. No, that can happen.
Yeah.
Is
It
Dottie
really can.
down there?
So no.
What the heck? Hey, I gotta go put my chickens to bed.
Bedtime for the chickens.
So
Is there any specific game besides the Super? Well, you weren't playing at the Super Bowl, but was there any specific game that you remember as being your funnest, your best game?
well, I mean, there's a couple games like in the playoffs in Atlanta where we're playing the New Orleans Saints, which is one of our big rivalries, and we had to win the game, to go into the playoffs, and we ended up going into double overtime in that ball game, and I punted 3 times out of the end zone in overtime, and they were all really good punts, and then we go from we hold them there on the last time I punted, and we go down and we kick and I'm holding for field goals too. That was a great game. So
You kicked a 51-yard?
well, I held for the field goals.
Oh, okay.
So I was out there holding, so it wasn't the best snap either. So I mean, I had to reach out and pull it in, and Norm Johnson was the field goal kicker, and he had played for Seattle and then came to Atlanta, and he drilled that sucker right down the middle. So that was huge. So yeah, there's games like that I could think of specific plays, like throwing for a first down or throwing for that touchdown. Those are things that stick in your mind. But then you can remember having a shank, and then you think about when you're in Cleveland and it's November, and I wake up at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night and look out the window, and it's snowing, and the flags on top of the buildings it's blowing so hard they're pointing straight up in the air.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can't sleep the rest of the night because wind is such a factor, for punting and kicking, and you just know it's going to be horrible the next day. And so, you go through that almost all the time. I can remember going to San Francisco, and we go out and we're warming up for the game, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Couldn't have been I was thinking how great of a day it's going to be. We go in to, for right before the game starts, and we come back out, and the Santa Ana winds just got there. And I mean, it was blowing 40, 50 mile an hour. It was awful for kicking. I mean, it just went downhill from there. It was an awful day. So weather plays a
Yeah.
big role. Of course, these big stadiums now are so much better too.
You have a special snow kicking shoe, right?
Well, I don't know that I had no, I mean,
No.
you get one shoe that you trust for planting, on different surfaces, and you kind of stick with it. You just
Oh, okay.
hope that probably the worst game weather-wise that I ever played in was the playoff game against the Washington Redskins in Washington. It was like 37 degrees out that day, and it was a downpour
Yeah.
the entire game. And I mean, it was raining so much that the water couldn't even drain off the sides of the field. So you were, not only was it cold, but you were wet. You couldn't get dried out. The field was a sloppy mess. It was a terrible, terrible day for a game. But
We got one more question from Jonesy. He says, what would be one thing in your sporting career that's kept with you in your working life after sport?
Wow.
It's a deep question.
well, I mean, it's just like, it's farming. You just have to have. I think you have trust. I have trust in God. That that I got in the right situations at the right time, and farming is a lot like that too. I mean, you got to.
Oh yeah, it's a gamble.
It's a gamble, and you got to work hard, and you just got to continue to believe that you're doing the right things, and I think that carries over in everything that you do. So.
Did you always know that he'd make it?
I actually did. It didn't really surprise me. I knew. I mean, you could see how good he was, and someone. Just like he said, you have to believe that you can do it, and I think that's a lot of it. I believed in him. I would have loved him in either way, but it was
But you loved it a little bit more.
maybe a little bit more. Maybe
A little bit more exciting.
A little
so-
bit. Exciting isn't half the word. It was nuts, all the things that we did.
And then you got another question. It says, was there a big or any difference playing on grass or AstroTurf?
Yeah.
It's huge.
I mean, I would much rather play on AstroTurf. Now, guys
Really?
that were tackling each other, and hitting. They would rather back then. They would rather play on grass because the turf fields were made out of. They were painted. Out there on the center and the sidelines, the paint was so hard when it would dry.
Really?
And they would just
Yeah.
Weird.
you would just get your arms just skin
Shredded.
clear
Oh.
up, shredded.
That's why you
Get that.
sometimes if you watch games and they have a tape right here on the
Right.
elbow,
Oh, is that what that's for?
Well,
Oh.
back then especially that's what
Yeah.
that was for.
but they still do it now.
And for punting, the turf was so much better because the footing was better,
It's all about.
and then it was always the same consistent height, so you didn't have to worry about your
Divots.
punting foot, hitting the grass and hitting the ground too hard and making a divot or something like that. So yeah, you could get a lot more. It was just smoother, and you could get more power,
Right.
on turf. Grass, you might slip, you might catch the grass. It might not be, the grass might be taller on some field. In Milwaukee, we played some games against the Packers in Milwaukee, not up in Green Bay, and it was on a baseball field. So lots of times you'd end up punting on
Dirt.
sand
What?
from the dirt and sand that
Oh my goodness.
that the bases were on, and it was all you. Sometimes you'd be kicking, between the grass and the sand. So you'd start on the grass and end up on. And
What a
those
mess.
that was awful
Yeah, I can imagine.
for footing and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a much better on turf. And today the turfs are so much
Better.
softer and better, and
Yeah.
guys don't get all skinned up like they used to. So
So if somebody that is a young man comes along and wants to do what you did, would you advise him to go for it or no?
oh yeah, I mean, you bet. I mean, it's
Dream.
it's kind of funny because lots of kids that maybe aren't quite big enough or strong enough to play another position in football want to be a punter or a kicker,
Right.
but either you got it or you don't. I mean, you got to have some natural. You can't just teach somebody to be a punter and kicker and they end up being really good. I mean, you got to have some natural kicking abilities
Right.
that you got to be
Practice
able to
from the
develop
child.
that, and turn it into something. So, yeah, I
If
mean,
anything, it's work hard. I mean, that's what
I've
you've
worked
always
with
said.
lots of kids, over the years, and some have gone on to play in college ball. I can't say any of them have went on to play pros that I've worked with, but most of, yeah, go for it. I mean, it's a great sport.
A little bit of everything.
So, yeah.
We probably should let them go. It's getting late. We've
Oh my
probably
goodness,
tortured you
yes.
guys.
Well, okay.
A lot.
One more question to end it all. So was it worth it?
So worth it.
Oh yeah.
So worth it.
I wouldn't change anything about it. I mean, I
I wouldn't
think,
get on that horse again, but that's about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be better now in some ways than it was then because, now guys, they go there and they stay there pretty much year round. I mean, that's, that's where they live, that's where they work out.
Because there's opportunities.
It's easier to stay.
being
Yeah, a lot of guys live in those areas once they're done. Like when I played, season was over with, I came home to farm. I mean, I think to me, you could, it would help your career. I think you could make it have a longer career now maybe than you did back then, just because you would be there year round working out, staying in shape. It's easy. It's a lot easier. I always used to think it's going to be nice when I don't have to work out all the time. But back then when you get paid to work out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was much
That's
easier
nice.
to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it than just on my own for fun. Because it really isn't fun to work out. I found that out since it's over with.
Because you're falling apart. You have a new hip on the leg that you kicked with, and then the doctor says, "No more punting, not even to teach anybody." And he was like, "Oh right, no really, you can't."
Yeah, when I got my new
That
hip, that
kinda
did
hurt.
kind of hurt,
That kinda
because
Hurt his feelings.
I was still punting. I could get my hip warmed up to where I could still punt some,
Yeah.
even though it hurt. But then they said, no, you just can't do it anymore, And I was, and I would
It
do
really
it with the kids I was
touching.
teaching, and try to show them what I
Yeah.
was doing. And so, that kind of sucked when that happened. But yeah, it was worth it. I'd do it again. So if I
Maybe
were-
write the letter a little sooner, like to Mike Brown, like when you were like a sophomore in college. Maybe you should have done that.
Well, maybe it was just the right time.
It's
you know?
God's
Maybe
plan.
you were at the
Yeah.
right place physically, and or, if you'd written it sooner, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Or he might have been in a different
Yeah.
place in his life.
Yeah.
I think God works all these things out
He's smelling it.
He
That
does.
dog
in his
ate.
proper time.
He's smelling it.
What's he smelling?
That dog ate.
Oh,
So he's like,
that's
is he
so
starving?
cute. Look at
Are
it.
you starving? That's the only reason why. I mean, I just fed him. Look at that.
But one thing that's good about being out in the country too, we have lots of animals.
Yes,
Yeah,
just a
Lots
few.
of cats, dogs,
Donks,
little horses,
donkeys, horses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mules,
That's awesome.
whatever we
Well, we
want.
should ask Cindy too. What was your, I guess, what was your favorite thing about being part of this, and then what was your least favorite thing?
I would say my favorite thing is just taking the kids to the games with me and watching their eyes and how excited they were. I just
Aw.
thought that was to have that experience, and I would take pictures. I mean, not as many as I should have, but film
It was
in those
expensive back
days. It was
then.
all,
Yeah,
it was,
I started
I-
out on film.
I'd say that was my favorite thing, and then Scott would take the kids on a field after the ball game and let them experience things. Now you couldn't take Camille in the locker room, right?
No.
But you did take DJ.
Yeah, I don't think
So that was
that
well.
might
I mean, before
traumatize
they.
her.
Well, I meant
Okay.
before they. Yeah, but no. And my least favorite would be practicing throwing him the ball at 110 degrees when you would want to go
Oh,
punting,
man.
and it was about more than I could do. It was hot, but I did it. But I didn't like it. Do you know I didn't like it? I
No,
didn't like
but
it.
you didn't have anything better to do.
Yeah, I guess not.
And Jonesy has one more question. He says, "Do you remember any Australian punters like Darren Bennett?"
Yeah, I know. I remember Darren Bennett. There weren't any Australian punters punting when I was actually punting. Bennett might have been
The first.
one of the
wasn't he?
first punters,
Oh,
I think, from Australia, if I remember right.
I mean, we've been out of it now, how many years?
Yeah, 30 some years, so.
32, maybe? 33?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, there's more and more players from other countries that are kicking field goals and
Probably doing all the positions,
Yeah.
right?
all the positions
Yeah.
now, yeah.
Isn't
know,
there
and it's been-
football other places?
Well, I mean, the NFL is expanding overseas
Yeah,
all the
now it
time
is.
too, and they got great fan bases over in those areas too.
Germany especially, I think.
Well, the craziest thing I saw, I was down in Mexico City one time, and this was a while back. This had to be at least 15 years ago, maybe more.
Uh-huh.
And I went by a high school, and they were playing American football.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
I'd have never thought you'd see, because they're so, Mexico is pretty much a two-sport place,
Yeah.
soccer and baseball.
Oh, yeah.
They love those two, but
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's awesome. They're, if the high schools are starting to play
Yeah.
football, then before you know it, they'll probably have some league and
Yeah, I've been to Mexico quite a bit, and I have never seen any high school kids playing.
yeah, that was the first time I'd
American
ever
football.
seen it.
Lots of soccer.
Yeah. Oh, they love the soccer. They'll any
You're
spot
gonna
of
be
ground.
famous. You're gonna be famous.
I used to just think it was crazy because, like when I lived in Oregon, we had a whole complex of beautiful soccer fields, nice grass, and they'd be empty, 90% of the time. On the weekends, they'd
Yeah.
fill up, or during soccer season. But I was like, when I lived in Mexico, there would be dirt patches. Literally, there wasn't a blade of grass. It was just this huge thing of dirt, and they'd make a bunch of soccer fields, and every day, all day, there were people playing soccer. And I'm like, if
Wow.
they knew that we had these gorgeous fields
Yeah.
just sitting empty,
Oh, yeah.
and they're
See,
playing on dirt and gravel.
A lot of places though will, I don't know about soccer, but they'll bring in venues like the Chiefs Stadium had, what's her name? Taylor Swift concert. I don't think it's just used for football. I think I wonder
Yeah,
if the
Well,
soccer ones
anymore,
are.
yeah, they build
Yeah.
them for all kinds of different things. So, yep.
and Jonesy says he thinks that's right, that he was our first.
Yeah.
Well, we better skedaddle.
Okay, come on,
We're
Ziggy,
just
your turn.
starting. Yes.
All right.
All right.
Good night,
Thank you
everybody.
guys for joining us so much.
Yep.
Yep, thanks for coming along, everyone.
God bless.